That is the fastest standing ovation I have ever seen in my life. They were on their feet instantly. Does that just happen everywhere you go? Like you walk into Starbucks and everyone jumps up?
I go to the Coffee Bean.
Coffee Bean is going to be sending you some free certificates when they see this. Thank you so much for being here. This is actually an audience entirely made up of SAG actors.
Oh,
yes. Fellow actors. So I always like to start at the beginning by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
48 hours.
That's right. You have kind of a unique story.
Yeah, my first movie was 48 hours. That's how I got my SAG card.
Do you have it on you?
No, is the microphone making like a feedback?
Is it okay
sound?
for everyone?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah. Are they trying to fix that back there?
You sound beautiful.
No. And the sound pack is digging into my sides. There we go.
Does it sounds okay to me now? Is it okay for everyone? Yes. So much better.
Yeah, so 48 Hours was my first movie, and that's how I got my SAG card.
Because there's this crazy story that I learned that sort of upset your co-stars at the Dolemite screening. You've only ever auditioned once in your life.
Well, that makes all actors nuts when they hear that. No actor wants to hear that.
Yeah, you understand why, right?
What do you mean one audition? I auditioned for SNL when I was 18, and that was my audition.
But in fairness, it was a series of auditions, right?
Well, it was maybe three little callbacks, but it was all only audition for one show though. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I was really, really lucky.
Was it at least a really bad audition so that we can feel a little better?
No, I got the show. I got the show.
I actually want to go back to the beginning because I know you grew up in New York and it's not like you had any family connections to the industry. When did you know that you wanted to do comedy?
I was always a funny guy. And when I heard Richard Pryor and it's an album he did in 1974 called That Nigga's Crazy. And when I heard that album, I was like, oh, that's who I am. That's what I'm gonna do.
And how old were you then?
Like 14.
Wow. And you really did start doing stand-up comedy at a really young age, right?
I was 15 when I started, yeah.
Wow. Who let you up there?
Well, there were bars and stuff you could work, and back then there was a show called The Gong Show.
Yeah.
So all the local bars were having like local talent gong show night. You could go up and like win $25. My brother Charlie told me you go down to Mr. Hicks' place, they have like a talent show, you can win $25. So I went down there and did my little impressions. Actually, I had to put the mascara in my mustache, sunglasses. They let me in.
Wow.
And I won.
You were trying to look older?
I thought I was. I just looked very odd. Odd kid.
So how did stand-up lead to you auditioning for Saturday Night Live?
They had a cattle call, like the original cast left in 1980, and they had, or 79, and they had a cattle call. They were recasting the show, and I was doing stand-up. I was working at the comic strip in Manhattan, and I just went in with all the other comedians.
Was that the dream to do Saturday Night Live, or did you always want to do
When
film?
I got on that show, I was thinking, if I get on TV, and then I'll get more exposure, and people will see my stand-up. I didn't think like, get on this show and it turned into.
But you came on the show with all those characters, or were they created when you were working on the show?
Yeah, that happens when you get there, you don't have no characters. It kind of happens when you get put in that pressure cooker. Like it's really like a pressure cooker creative environment. You got to come up with stuff, and all those characters came out, because you have to come up with something or you get fired. That's really what it's like. It's like you have to come up with stuff and you got to make some kind of connection with the audience, otherwise you're going to get fired. That's always like the whole time you're there. It's like really like a high pressure job.
That's what I've heard. I heard it can be really cutthroat there.
On Saturday night, like right before the show stuff gets cut. You might have been working all week on something and got wardrobe and been doing music and got all this stuff, and then like at 11:15 they'll go, it's cut, and you're sitting there in this costume. every Saturday night, it's like cast members outside the producer's office, like in the hallway, crying. It's really crazy.
Was there ever anything you really wanted to get on the show that you couldn't? That they kept cutting, or they just kept turning down in the room?
I don't remember. I'm sure I wrote stuff that didn't get on, but nothing stands out.
I'm just so curious about the genesis of doing Gumby as a character. Like, who randomly thinks, like, let's do a live-action Gumby? If I can get maybe a handheld mic, that would be great.
Yeah, there was a manager that I had that was kind of like he kind of talked the way Gumby talks. Yeah, it was an old manager. I kind of took that manager's voice and put him with their character, and it was,
Really?
That's how Gumby came about. Yeah.
So it was just the fact that he sounded like Gumby?
Yeah, he was a guy that talked like this, and I've been in this business for this many years, and he'd tell stories. I was once in a club, and Frank Sinatra threw a salad in my face. And I said, Frank, you don't throw a salad in my face. He would tell stories like that. I was like, so that's how Gumby wound up telling me.
I just heard fairly recently one of your most famous characters was Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. And I heard Fred Rogers was actually a fan of this sketch.
Oh yeah, because we weren't malicious and we weren't like making fun. I loved Mr. Rogers, so I wasn't making fun of him. We was just trying to be funny and satirical. And we weren't taking shots at him, or how weird or creepy he was. Because I never saw him like that.
No.
As a kid, we loved him. So.
Yeah. I actually have a question from the audience. Miles, I don't know, right in the front, wants to know what was the best thing about your time at Saturday Night Live?
Oh, I can't even. It's so many things. Like I said, I was 18 when I got on that show. When I auditioned for that show, so that's the age you'd be if you were going to college, and that's like, that's the best place for anybody wanting to do what I wound up doing. That's the absolute best place to, that's where I went to school, SNL, I learned so much at SNL.
You did something that I think was very bold at the time, too. You had a very popular character, Buckwheat, from the Little Rascals. And again, I just wonder where that idea came from. But you chose to kill him off. Rather epically.
Yeah, we just thought it would be funny. We thought it would be funny. But Buckwheat is, from the Little Rascals from years and years ago. Yeah, a lot of times I would be walking the streets and people would walk up to me back then, they'd be like, man, you be fucked up on that show, don't you? Like, they think I was getting high to come up with that stuff. Like, how do you even come up with some shit like that? And I wasn't. I wasn't high at all.
It's kind of a compliment, I guess.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So the news is out. I guess it's okay to talk about. You're going to be returning and hosting Saturday Night Live at the end of December. Wow, this is so great.
And that's my first time back in, 35 years.
I mean, I'm so glad you're doing it, but why did it take so long?
I was busy doing other things. And then they had that 40th anniversary thing a couple of years back, and I went back for that, and I just got this big burst of nostalgia when I went in there and seeing all the different actors and actresses and people that I worked with over the, and I just felt like a really strong kinship to everybody there, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to go back there, and it'd be fun to do that again, so we're going back.
I don't know if you can tell us, but we have an audience question from, is it Dre Powell?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, again in the front. Sorry, no, I jumped ahead. I was going to ask one. There was a question about if there's any characters you're looking forward to bringing back.
I don't know. Looking forward to?
Yeah. Will we see Gumby, maybe?
I'm sure there'll be Gumby. And I'm sure there'll be Mr. Robinson, and I'm sure there'll be Buckwheat, and I hope there's Velvet Jones.
I love Velvet Jones.
Velvet Jones.
Yeah.
Few people know that.
I feel like the one time when you did Velvet Jones, you were laughing. You had a laugh attack, or maybe it was a different character. I think you were trying to crack up Joe Piscopo. Oh no, he was trying to crack you up, and you broke on live TV.
Remember. Yeah, I read a couple of moments like that.
Yeah, I think he was throwing pies at you or something.
Oh no, I know what sketch you're talking about.
Okay.
The sketch was it was a horrible sketch. and we knew it was horrible. And like that's another thing at SNL. Like you have to go at 11:30, even if you have the show isn't ready. So every now and then you be in a horrible sketch, and it's live. So we were in a horrible sketch, and we started playing around, and it got crazy.
Oh, so you were just doing anything to save it, or just having some fun?
No, we were just having fun. We couldn't save the sketch. We might as well go down smiling.
So as you said, this led to your first film role, 48 Hours. This just came to you as an offer?
Yeah, originally it was supposed to be, I think, a Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor movie.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine how strange 48 Hours would have been?
Yes.
Gene Wilder is the Nick Nolte character.
Wow.
But it went through all these different changes, and it wound up what it was. And my agent, the reason I got that, my agent, Hildy Gottlieb at the time, she was actually married to, she's married to Walter Hill now, and they were the director of 48 Hours, and they were like boyfriend and girlfriend then, and literally she was like, hey, hey, why don't you check out my client? I got it. My agent was, sleeping with the director.
Nice.
and that's how I got my SAG
Honestly, that's a pretty great agent.
They're still together.
Obviously, 48 Hours is a very funny movie, but it also has some really intense dramatic scenes. I mean, did you have experience as an actor up till before
all
that?
I had done was buckwheat and Gumby.
Wow.
When I got on that, it was like, that was the first time I ever did anything like that. Yeah.
Wow, what was that like?
I just kind of felt like I took everything for granted back then. I just kind of went with it, and and I wasn't. It just kind of just flowed naturally.
Yeah. You weren't intimidated by. I mean, I just think the cameras are intimidating. Acting in a film, and then you have Nick Nolte on top of that.
Yeah, I never had that. I never get intimidated.
Yeah.
I get a little. If I'm getting ready to perform or do something, I get a little excited before I do it, and I get a little feeling of I want it to be really good, and a little nervous, but never intimidated. Like I'm always like, come on, let's do it.
Yeah. And your second film, I mean, these are great movies back to back, was Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd. Huge hit. Actually, you got back-to-back Golden Globe nominations for both these films. 48 Hours was when they had the Best Newcomer category.
Yeah.
They don't have it anymore.
No, they don't?
No.
I didn't win, though.
Do you know who you lost to?
No.
I'd love to know. I wonder who it was. If anyone has IMDb, let me know. And then 48 Hours, you were nominated for Best Actor in a comedy or musical.
I didn't win that either.
So I'm guessing at this point, your film career is starting to take off. Did you have to make the choice to leave Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, like I was saying a little while ago, SNL is like a pressure cooker. And it's like you work Monday through Saturday, then Sunday you're off, then you go right back again. And it's, most people only stay on there for 3-4 years and you get out. It's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, you did 4 years. That's
I did 3 years, and then it was off to Hollywood.
But not completely off to Hollywood. You did your stand-up special, Delirious, which...
Well, I had been doing stand-up before SNL, and I had that stuff before SNL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'm imagining you got the special off of the Saturday Night Live heat.
No, it was different. There wasn't
special.
It wasn't specials like it is now, where there's a bunch of people doing specials. The original Delirious is actually a HBO. They used to have hour things, HBO. So it wasn't like I got that from SNL. By the time I got SNL, I was a working comic. I was, I had a little heat.
Oh, really?
I had won I'd come in 5th in the big laugh-off contest of New York. So I had a little heat going.
You came in 5th. Who came in 1st through 4th?
Oh, yeah, who came in? A guy named Steve Middleman won.
I know Steve Middleman.
He won, and Carol Leifer, who wrote for Seinfeld.
Oh, wow,
She came in 3rd or 4th. And Mark Schiff came in. I don't remember the other person. I came in 5th, though.
I was like, those are actually some pretty significant names. Yeah, not too bad.
Everybody placed the exact opposite of when they went on. I went on first, and I came in 5th, and the second person came in 4th. It was
really? That's the secret to it. So the same year you left Saturday Night Live, you had one of your biggest franchise hits with Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
What was your experience with Beverly Hills at that point? Because I remember growing up watching that movie. That's what formed my impression of Beverly Hills before I moved out here.
Yeah, but I was out here doing that movie, but we were out here hanging out too. So
yeah.
My real experience was nothing like my Beverly Hills Cop experience.
Really?
Yeah, that's back when I was wearing leather suits. And there's actually a scene in Beverly Hills Cop where like 2 guys walk by in a leather suit, and I look at them and laugh at them, and it's like I was dressing just like that. At the end of the day, I would put on one of those outfits.
Oh, see, I always thought the joke is that the suits were the exact inverse of each other. Like one was red with black fringe, and the other one was black with red fringe.
No, that's not. I was just laughing.
Yeah, it never even occurred to me that a leather suit would be strange in the heat, but now I get it. It took me 30 years.
Yeah, but I wasn't a big sweater. If you look at that stuff, you never see me sweating. If you watch Delirious or Raw, I'm not drenched. I have a leather suit, and I'm never sweating. I'm not a sweaty guy.
You're very lucky. You also started getting involved more behind the scenes. I know you did the story for Beverly Hills Cop 2 and the story for Coming to America, which, by the way, we're getting a sequel to that, I hear.
Yeah. Well, I started writing on SNL. Like my second year, I got it and became one of the writers on the show as well. So I've always written. I've always, in 48 Hours, the very first movie I'm doing, the first day I'm on the set, I'm like, how about if we say it this way? I'm always trying to get it to sound real. Mm-hmm. And I've always done that.
So over the years, had you thought about doing a sequel to Coming to America? And why is now the right time?
No, I hadn't thought about it for years and years. And for years, it would be like people try to get a play, try to make a 48 Coming to America play, and
really?
TV shows. It was all that kind of stuff, but never a sequel. And that movie, for some reason, I don't know what it is about that movie. Of all the movies I've done, that movie worked its way in the culture where people get dressed up on Halloween, like it's the characters. It's strange. They be dressed. It's a restaurant that turns its restaurant into McDowell's on Halloween.
Yes! Right.
So it stayed around, and some kind of way about maybe 6-7 years ago, I was doing a Mark Twain thing. I got some Mark Twain award, and Tracy was doing something, and he told me he was doing he was trying to develop something about a guy who goes back to Africa to marry a girl, just like I did in Coming to America or something. It was like, and then we started talking about it. I was like, well, and then I started thinking, then I got a kind of little better idea. And then the guy that directed Black Panther,
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, him and some other writer came and they pitched a sequel. And I was like, well, all these people are interested in Coming to America. And this guy's he was a hot shot. This is right before Black Panther. It was he had done
Creed.
Fruitvale Station,
yeah.
Creed and all that stuff. And I was like, well, if these guys are interested in it, maybe I should try to get something together.
Wow, really?
So we came up with something, and it took maybe four years before we got something that made sense and was funny and was I could connect the dot in a way to where it makes when the story picks up 30 years later, it's okay, and it's not contrived. And it's so fucking funny. I can't wait for you. We just finished a week ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's so funny.
Wow.
So funny. Now we got most of the original cast is back, and we got all those characters, and we got new people, and Wesley Snipes and Tracy Morgan and Leslie Jones, and it's just Morgan Freeman. And,
no way!
It's a lot. It's a lot of shit.
Is Cuba Gooding Jr. back? Because I remember him from that movie. His two lines.
No, he's not in this one.
That was the first place I ever saw him.
He didn't have any lines.
Didn't he? I thought that he stopped and...
No, he didn't have any lines. He's just in the chair getting his hair cut. Yeah, in the barbershop, he's getting his hair cut.
And will you be playing multiple characters again?
Yeah, I'm doing all the characters that I did in that movie. And a couple more. It's a couple of new ones, too.
That's so cool. When is it coming out? In the summer?
Next Christmas.
Next Christmas. Okay. We got to wait a whole year?
We just finished last week, literally.
Wow.
Literally last week finished.
And this is where I'm sorry, I meant to get to Dre's question, which was you then really stepped behind the camera and wrote, produced, directed, and starred in Harlem Nights. Yes. His question was about how was it working on Harlem Nights with legends like Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and I'm so sorry, Della Reese.
Yeah, that was daunting. Yeah, it was so much stuff. And what's telling is that I only directed once. I did that one time. It was so much work. So hard. And I was really young, 26 or 27, and it was just a lot of work. And when I think about Harlem Nights now, though, I think about the off-camera stuff, how much we laughed off. We was just laughing constantly. Because you had Richard, and Red Fox, Robin Harris, and myself, my brother Charlie, and it was just nonsense. Arsenio, we were just screaming, laughing behind the camera all the time. But it was a lot of work.
Do you think you would ever direct again?
Maybe, yeah. I never say never now. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been saying a lot lately. What I like to do the most is nothing. I like to just be home, do nothing, and sit on the couch. But I still have ideas, and I still got a little fire in me and want to do stuff. So I won't say I can't say I won't do it, but right now there are no plans for me to direct anything.
I mean, honestly, it is such a hard job. I don't know how people do it.
So much work, so really the ones that do it best are the ones that's who they are. You really are this director. Just doing one of the things you do. I can't. It's too much.
Well, yeah, you weren't just directing. You had all these jobs. You were probably doing craft services too. There's you took on everything. Maybe
not snacks though.
We have a question from Brandon Sparks. Everyone's in the front. How is that possible? Over the years, you've helped discover or introduce a number of African American actors and actresses to mainstream audiences. Arsenio Hall, Chris Rock, Halle Berry, Dave Chappelle. How purposeful was this, and how important is it for your films to be made up of diverse casts?
Well, the business was a whole different business when I started in 1981. It was a whole different show business. And when things opened up for me, it's just natural to, and it's a natural thing to want to help the other comics and help other actors, and I just did it. It was. And I wasn't doing it because I felt it was this is the important thing to do. It was just a natural progression, just something that seemed like the natural thing to do. Mm-hmm. And they were really talented. I didn't really discover any of them. It's just you can't be in a movie by yourself. You have, actually, I have done that. But
yeah.
You can't do that all the time.
Well, since you brought that up, I want to touch on the Nutty Professor because you earned raves. Sure, you're not going to step on anyone's applause. Not only for playing multiple characters in the movie, but it's a very funny film, but it is also kind of a heartbreaking performance. It is very sweet and touching, and people talk a lot about comedy and drama and how one is harder than the other, and I just actually rewatched this movie recently, and it's such a perfect balance that you bring such a humanity to Sherman Klump. Who had the idea? What?
That's true. It's really sweet. He's sweet. Sherman Klump is sweet and lovable. You love him. Yeah.
No, he's so lovable.
Yeah, when he's in the club and Chappelle is ripping him and doing those jokes and that music goes sad, they push it on Sherman's face.
Oh God!
Come on, man! Come on, man!
Oh my
You feel
God!
that shit? You be like, poor Sherman.
Oh, yeah, and even before that, when he's like, okay, I'm gonna play along, and then you see
all right, you got me. All right, you got me. Yeah, you feel for him.
Oh my God, yes. And who had the idea to remake the Nutty Professor, but make it about weight?
That's my idea. Yeah, it was, and originally it was like let's do the Nutty Professor over again, and that was how do you do it over again? It was like, well, the original Nutty Professor he has this personality disorder. It's like he's like a geek disorder. He's a geeky dude. He didn't have any confidence. And it was like, well, I need something else to play. And this was back during when it was weight loss, all this weight loss. Remember back then was everybody was obsessed with it. Was all these weight loss shows and weight loss drinks and all that. So it was the times that it was like that's a much funnier thing than a geek, a guy that has a weight problem that can make the weight go away and it comes back at the wrong time. It just opened all these different comic possibilities. But it was my idea.
I mean, to this day, the special effects and the costuming and the makeup hold up so well. I mean, did you know what you were in for, though? I mean, you must have spent hours in a makeup chair every day.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of work. And Rick Baker, the guy that did the makeup, he won an Oscar for that.
Yes.
For coming to for Nutty Professor. But yeah, it was a lot of work. And every time I've done one of those makeup movies, I always go, I'm never doing it again. And I wound up just coming to America. I was sitting in a makeup chair and go, how the fuck did I wind up in this makeup chair? It'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning, you'd be sitting there, you'd be taking that shit off. Had it on for hours and hours. The old Jewish guy from that's like an 8-hour, 6-7 hour makeup.
Wow.
It's a horror show. But it's good. If it comes out good, it's really good.
I mean, and makeup has made so many advances in the last few years. Did it get any easier, or does it still take just as long to get to that makeup?
It still takes just as long.
Wow. Do you still pay attention to reviews, or have you learned to tune that out?
I don't read any reviews. I don't read any newspapers. I haven't read a newspaper or a corporate public magazine in maybe 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, and I go with big long gaps where I don't watch the news and could be totally disconnected. And be telling me shit. I'll be like, what happened?
That actually sounds heavenly.
Yeah, I never owned a computer, and I've never done any social media or Twitters, and I've never tweeted. I've never had any of that stuff.
Although a lot of people here who thought they were following Eddie Murphy are probably disappointed right now.
Yeah, I've had people say stuff to me on the street. They be like, hey, blah, blah, yeah. I said, that's not me. I said, yeah, I've been talking to you for 6 months, man.
Going back briefly to the Nutty Professor, first of all, there's 2 things I want to say about this movie. One is that thank you for not making him lose weight at the end. When Nutty Professor 2 came back, I thought he was going to be like a slim Sherman Klump. And I love that he didn't change physically. Yeah. The second thing is that when you're doing this scene and you're playing, 7 or 8 different parts, and you have to do hours of makeup for each one, how many days did it take to shoot a scene of just the family around the dinner table?
Well, you can only do a character each day. So if you do 5 people, it'll take 5 days to shoot something. Because I'm in the set with 4 tennis balls where the other people would be. And I'll just talk to the tennis ball. And then the next day they'll give me what I said. I have the audio for what I said the day before. I have it in my ear. So then each day you have the audio in your ear and you talk to the ball. And it looks crazy if you come visit the set, it looks crazy. But when they put it all together, it's amazing.
So was any of that scripted, or were you improvising for most of it?
Oh, it's a combination, a bunch.
Yeah.
Some of it's scripted, most of it's scripted, but I'm always improvising.
Yeah.
Always.
Did you ever consider having other actors sit in, or was it always the tennis balls? Yeah, I know that sounds weird.
It's the tennis. I need the tennis balls, and I need to hear my audio because I need to be able to play off of what I said. And I have I think the only reason was able to do is have a really, really, really good memory, like a freakish memory. So I'll remember what I said and be able to. It's complicated. Actually, it's not, but I have a really good memory, so I could pull that off.
Oh, it's so fascinating. I also want to touch on some of your voice work because obviously between Mulan and playing Donkey and Shrek, you've done these iconic voices. What do you like about doing voiceover work? It's not as easy as I thought it was.
I love when it's done right and the movie's successful, there's this big, I don't know what it is about animated films, it's this big just outpouring, a gush of just positive energy, people just love it. Just get a big, when it's done like those Shrek movies, I get so much love from people from those Shrek movies.
What do people mostly want to talk to you about when they like run into you on the street or in Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, I guess?
I don't know. People don't strike up conversations. People want to take those.
Everyone
Selfie all the
wants a
time.
photo. They don't specify though. Like I'm curious if like the Nutty Professor fans outweigh the Coming to America fans.
People see me and they'll be like, "You really got 10 kids?" It's different with men and women. The men be like, look at me like, this nigga's crazy. And with women, it's a little, because it's kind of, you be like, wow, Eddie Murphy be doing some serious fucking. Ten, baby. He must be fucking all the time. I know he did a song called Party all the time. He should do fucking all the time. I wonder if that's what that song was about.
Wait a second, back up. 10 kids? Really?
Yeah. She's like, she said, you must be doing some serious. Can we edit this out?
But it was over a period of time, we should specify. It's not like 10 kids in 1 year.
My oldest is 30.
Oh, wow.
And my youngest is 11 months.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite the fellow.
Yeah.
And I just had my first grandchild, my son Miles.
Wow, congratulations.
He had my first little grandbaby. She's 5 months old.
Oh, that's amazing. The best.
Yeah, right now it's just so much good stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's like just raining blessings on me. I'm just in a really good place right now.
When your kids were growing up, were they fans of your movies, or did you kind of want them to stay away from them?
Well, I had some stuff they could see.
Yeah.
Because I did a bunch of, family movies and Dr. Dolittle. And that kind of stuff, But they didn't see my stand-up till they got like 16.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't watch it. Delirious and Raw. Until I got older. But they were all, my kids are fans of my stuff.
That's cool, yeah. Have any of them thought about going into acting?
Oh yeah, a bunch of them are acting now. In fact, in this new Coming to America, my daughter Bella, she's playing one of my daughters in the movie, like one of the princesses, African princesses.
Oh, how neat.
She got fight scenes and all this cool stuff too. And she's a really good little actress, and I'm really proud of her. And my other daughter, Bria, she's an actress and an artist. And daughter Shane just graduated from college. My sons do music. My son Miles, he writes and acts. And other sons do music. So they all have, a lot of them have like creative stuff and aspirations.
That's really neat. Yeah. There's one movie I want to touch on before we get to Dolemite, and that's obviously has to be Dreamgirls. Your performance as James Thunder Early won you a SAG Award, a Golden Globe Award, your first Academy Award nomination. This is, yeah, sure. And it seems like such a perfect combination of all your talents. You get to sing, you get to play a charismatic star. There is also one of some of the best acting I've ever seen in that movie, just a single look that you give to someone as you're about to do cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Were you familiar with the musical, and how did that project come to you?
Yeah, I'd seen the original play on Broadway back in the 80s. I saw it a few times. And when they offered the movie to me, they originally offered me the Jamie's part.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, no, I want to play that other guy. That's because I had seen it on Broadway. And I think the guy's name was Cleavon Derricks that starred in that role. And it was just, that was the role, the James Thunder Early. So yeah, I knew it.
Oh, yeah. Was there any, at the time, musicals were very rare in national theater releases. Now we have them pretty much one a year at least. But a lot of people didn't know if the movie would work. Did you have any concerns if it would work or not?
No, because the team that they had put together, and I knew that the play was so good, and Bill Condon had written an amazing script, and yeah, I knew that people would like the movie. And it exceeded my expectations. I didn't know it would turn out like that, and Jennifer Hudson.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a special one.
Have you ever thought about doing a play?
No, not really, no.
I mean, stand-up to some extent is...
Yeah, never ever been in never even in high school was in a play.
Really?
Never in any plays, yeah.
I'm like racking my brain. I think you should do Guys and Dolls.
I never saw Guys and Dolls.
I mean, it's basically like fun-loving. It's kind of Harlem Nights-ish, actually, with like some great musical numbers.
Dance numbers and stuff.
Yep.
Like I think I would be nervous to do dance numbers in front of like people live.
Really?
What's that show where the stars Dancing with the Stars?
Dancing with the Stars.
I can't. I'm like, yo, do it. What do you mean they're doing the cha-cha-cha?
Yeah.
And it was like I had to learn to do the cha-cha-cha and do it live, and people watch me do the cha-cha-cha. Nope. I couldn't. That would be too much.
No. You'd definitely be better than Sean Spicer, though. So you know that the bar is set really low.
Sean Spicer.
Sean Spicer was on Dancing with the Stars this season.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it was horrifying.
Sean Spicer, that used to speak.
Yeah.
Do you
yes.
See? Amazing.
I know. See, you're really not on Twitter now. I can tell.
Yeah, no, it's show business. It's not show business anymore. Show business is gone. And now it's this new thing. It's everything is entertainment. It's entertainment, but show business used to have to, have something, and now it's just you could just be, don't be camera shy, and have something crazy to say, and you can be Sean Spicer dancing on the stars. It's just, anything goes right now. Crazy.
So finally, we have to talk about Dolemite Is My Name. This is my favorite movie of the year. I love it so much.
Thank you.
It hit Netflix last month, and everyone has been talking about your performance as Rudy Ray Moore. And from what I understand, this is a story you've been wanting to tell for years.
We tried to get it going about 15 years ago.
Wow.
And it just didn't come together. I think I might have just been coming off of some movie that didn't work, and then I was just fresh off Pluto Nash.
I like Pluto Nash.
And then I'm up there, telling the studio, "How about Rudy Ray Moore?" They was like, "Get the fuck out of here." So it didn't come together back then. But the groundwork the foundation got, because the writers got with Rudy Ray Moore, and they try to get some stuff going. It never came together. Then John Davis, who produced the movie with me, he brought it back up again a few years ago, and it was like, hey, yeah, let's. And it came. There was no Netflix back then. Mm-hmm. See, Netflix is God bless Netflix.
I agree.
There's so much stuff that wouldn't get done if there wasn't, Netflix is doing like the town used to do, there used to be, different types of stuff coming out of the town. And now it's kind of like the same kind of movies, your big superheroes, and visual effects stuff. And everybody's trying to make that big giant, movie that make $1 billion worldwide. And so they stopped doing different types of things. And Netflix is in diverse content business. They just want to have something for everybody. So all this stuff is getting made that would have never got made. Dolemite would have never got made the way it was made. Like they spent the right money and the cast that they put together. That's Netflix.
I mean, let's talk about that cast. This is such an amazing ensemble, and you have people like Wesley Snipes and Keegan-Michael Key, but you also have this amazing discovery in Da'Vine Joy Randolph, who plays Lady Reed. I mean, and talk about giving opportunities to people. Where did you find her?
We were just auditioning.
Wow.
And she brought something to it. We were just looking for somebody that would be funny, and then when she started reading stuff, she brought this stuff that we didn't even know was there on the page. It was like, yo, this could be that, and she just took it over. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a great relationship between Rudy Ray Moore and Lady Reed. Because when the movie started, I was like, I wonder if he's going to have a love interest, and I was like, this is so much better. This is like a really sweet friendship that we don't get to see portrayed on screen a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, his story is amazing. His story has everything, and it's just, I'm so glad it came together.
And you got to spend time with him too when you were trying to make it in the beginning.
Yeah, I met him a few times. I went and seen him live a few times. And
he was still performing live.
Oh yeah, I saw him at the Club Lingerie on Sunset, and I saw him at there's a place, Stevie's on the Strip on Ventura Boulevard. There used to be a place. I saw him there, and he was still gigging, doing tiny little clubs. Yeah, it was.
Was he still doing the same act, basically?
The same type of stuff, yeah.
I mean, what was your first exposure to Dolemite or to Rudy Ray Moore? Because I remember I worked in a video store way back in the day, and I would see the box with his face on it.
And you'd be like, what the hell?
Oh, that's exactly what I said.
What is this?
Because they put older Rudy Ray Moore on the box, even though he was young in the movies. It was strange.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I first saw Rudy Ray Moore when I was maybe 15. That's when his movies, when I first became aware of his movies. And we used to watch his movies because, you would see like a punch miss, or you see the microphone coming to the shot, or the stuff that he was doing. We were like, we couldn't believe what he was doing. And he got a little cult following of people that, were like, did you see that? And then stoners started watching it. It became those movies that you would smoke, and then if you watch Rudy Ray Moore, you smoke a joint and watch The Human Tornado, you'd be like, what the fuck? So Stud became really popular with the stoners, and then the rappers got hip. The rappers, the ones that really kept him alive, they kind of acknowledged that what he's doing is rap. He's rhyming on beat, and he's got music in the back, so that's rap. So the rap, Snoop and Ice-T and all those guys, they've been, holding him up for years and years. But I got exposed to him when I was 15, 16. I tell you, his movies, when I got older, like we used to just laugh at it, like how the audaciousness and the quality when we were younger. Then when I got older and I realized how he put it together, I started looking at him in a different way. I was like, yo, this guy was just a guerrilla filmmaker back in the 70s. He took it, he couldn't get in, they closed the door in his face, and he went and he paid out of his own pocket, and he went with no permits and just started shooting and getting it done and put it together, and he's a guerrilla filmmaker. I was like, and he became like a little hero of mine. You start seeing, I see movies by take a guy like Fellini. If you watch a Fellini movie, if you watch 8.5 by Fellini and watch La Strada by Fellini, then you watch, there's another director named Alejandro Jodorowsky, who does Holy Mountain and Santa Sangre and those movies, El Topo, you know. Then you watch Rudy Ray Moore movies, you have the same reaction when you watch those movies. You'd be like, what the fuck am I watching? And those other guys are like heralded as geniuses, you know, and I'm like, Rudy Ray Moore stuff is no different from the same shocking imagery and stuff where you get people, these characters, you know, it's the same type of shit. So I started seeing him like that. And then I thought, you know, the whole idea of how he went, you know, he didn't have any of the tools, that most of you guys have something, you know, y'all are dreamers, y'all are actors, so we all dreamers, so you got something, otherwise you wouldn't be pursuing it. But Rudy didn't have he's not a good looking guy, he's not extra funny, he was just a guy that just wanted it and believed in himself. And I thought that was interesting. It was like, you don't have to have, that's the most important thing to have is that. If you don't have the other stuff, if you believe in it and you can see it, the shit happens. And no matter what it is you're trying to do in life, anything you're trying to do in life, if you could see it and you're the only one that can see it. That's why every now and then you flip on the TV and you see some shit, you be like, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Like how does Attack of the Killer Tomatoes even fucking happen? Or Sharknado or some shit like that. That's somebody that just would not give up. They just went up and kept pitching and believing in their shit and just staying on it and then we're sitting around talking about the shit. And Rudy Ray Moore, you know, his movies with the crudest stuff, some of the crudest stuff of the 70s, but he developed a cult following and we made a movie about his life and they'll know about him forever now, you know. And he had the least amount of stuff. He had that one thing that he had, you know, the most was he believed in himself and he wanted it.
I think he also saw that there was an audience that wasn't being served. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they go to see, you know, what they've been told is a really funny movie, and he's just kind of sitting there confused as to why everyone's laughing.
They say, you know, you're not supposed to make a movie for the 5 blocks of people that you know. He said, well, in America, they have that same 5 blocks in every city, you know. So yeah.
How did you prepare to play him physically? Because I wasn't sure if you put on weight or if that was padding.
No, that's weight. Wow. But that was from about 6 years ago. I took a break. I was like, I'm not doing anything, and I didn't do anything for 5 or 6 years. I just kind of sat on it. I did one movie. I did that Mr. Church movie.
Oh, such a sweet movie.
And the only reason, thank you. The only reason I did that is because they told me we're going to shoot it in some crazy, like 3 weeks or something nuts. I was like, what? Let me see you shoot a movie in 3 weeks. And we did it really quick, and I went back to the couch. But yeah, I needed a break. So I took a break and sitting on the couch doing nothing, and I put the weight on. And then when the movie came together, it was like, oh, this is perfect. It looked like I'm a method actor.
I
should just say I gained the weight for the role.
I really thought you did.
No, yes. I'm gonna start saying it. Yes, it was a lot. I gained the weight to lose it. Say, are you doing a sequel? Because you still got a pot belly.
I love his reaction to being called doughy too. It's just the best response, yeah. And also the outfit you wear in that scene. Give Ruthie Carter.
Ruth Carter did all the clothes.
Oh, she's amazing.
She's a genius. What she does gives the characters a pulse, and you really feel like you're in the place, and you're really that person, and she's amazing.
I was actually saying I wish the movie had come out just a couple weeks earlier because I could only imagine all the Dolemite Halloween costumes. You know?
I didn't even think about that.
Next year.
If that happens, that will really tickle me.
Oh, I wanted that purple suit.
People dressed up as little kids dressed up as Rudy Ray Moore.
It would be amazing.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
It has a lot of heart, though. I think one of the writers, Scott Alexander, introduced it at a festival by saying it's the sweetest movie that uses the word motherfucker 300 times. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And I think that's something that everyone responds to, not just people in the entertainment business, but we have a special affinity for it.
For the word motherfucker?
Well, that too. But for this story. Do you think Rudy would have liked the movie?
I think he would be over the moon. Absolutely. How could he not? You know, it really tells. It's not a biopic. It's not a movie about his whole life. It's about this little period in his life, and it just tells this little story about how he got it done. And how could he not?
Yeah.
Because it's what he did was extraordinary, and people didn't know about it. It kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah, I think he would be thrilled.
Not under the rug, he would love it.
I want to take some audience questions, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anyone's name. We have a question from Jeff. That might be a few Jeffs here. Wants to know, who is your comedy idol?
Richard Pryor is, for me, Richard Pryor is the ceiling of the art form. He's the Mozart or whatever, of comedy.
They've been trying to make a movie about him for years, I know. Yeah, I don't know if has anyone ever approached you about playing him?
Well, I'm too old to play Richard now. I'm 58 years old. I can't. If you play Richard, you got to play Richard. Somebody has to be able to play him when they're in their 20s and all that. And I'm not. Yeah, I would be right. But when they were trying to put the last one together, though, they offered me the role of his dad.
Oh wow!
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting character there for Richard's life. But it never came together.
I know, it feels like every few years it starts to, maybe it'll be like Dolemite and,
Yeah, it
take
got really
15
close.
years.
It got really close a couple of years ago, and I think Mike Epps was going to play him, and then Lee Daniels was working on the script, and Oprah was going to play his grandmother, and I was going to play his father, and it got really good. Then I think that, what's that show? The Empire show, that got really big, and then the Richard Pryor thing got on the back burner, and for some reason didn't come together.
Oh, I can't believe that, especially with that lineup of talent.
It's still around. It might come together one day, man.
I really hope so. We have a question from Sandy Kay. Hi. Wants to know, what's been your most challenging role, and what role have you enjoyed the most?
The most challenging thing was probably those makeups in coming to Nutty Professor, because it was the whole movie, maybe 80% of the movie I'm in those, sitting in a makeup chair, and it's just was a lot of work. That was the most challenging. But that's, I want to use the word favorite, but if I only had one movie to say to represent who I am as an actor, that would be the movie.
Wow, really?
I don't want to say it's my favorite, but it's so much that's like, hey, shit, show that, dude, put that one up.
Has there been talk about revisiting the character of Sherman Klump?
Oh, I'm not doing that shit. That's too much. I got away with doing it twice. I'm not doing it. It's too much. It's just too much work, and I don't know where it would. I'm sure there's a way to write it something funny, but it's just, I've been there and done that and did it, and like I said, every time I do a makeup movie, I say, no, and I just finished doing a makeup movie, so right now it's like, no. Why 2-3 years from now, he'd be like, hey, he's doing Nutty Professor. Nutty Professor 3.
I would be thrilled if that happened, honestly. Question from Calvin Clausel. I hope I said that right. With succeeding the way you have as an African-American man at the time that you did, how did you navigate your success and finances when that isn't something that's typically taught to people?
Now, what was it at the beginning of that question?
How did you sort of navigate your fame and your success, including like financial success? This is the business side, I guess, of show business.
Oh, how did I navigate? I've been with the same business person since I was 22, Mark Landsman, and I was very conservative, and I've been jerked. I've had some times when I jerked stuff and jerked some money and all that stuff too. I think you live and you learn, and I've been blessed that I've been around for a while. Like a lot of times people make some money, you have your little moment, and you make a bunch of money, and then you gotta live off that money for the rest of your life. And I was lucky in that, I was able to work. So times when I might have jerked some paper, when I was young, I continued to work. And pay your taxes. And pay your taxes and try to keep it righteous.
When you first sort of had to deal with that onset of fame from Saturday Night Live and 48 Hours, and you were at such a young age as well, I would imagine it would be hard for anyone. But how did you sort of deal with, being in the spotlight? I mean, I feel like it'd be even harder now with Twitter and paparazzi.
I took it for granted because I was young. When you're young, you take things for granted. Stuff that happened to me back then that you would just take for granted. Like now I look back on it and think like, wow, that was a trip that happened. Like when I first blew up, all those old actors and actresses from the golden age of Hollywood, they were still around, and they were curious about me, like call my agent and have lunch with somebody, like Marlon Brando. My first move, 48 Hours, Brando calls up my agent and it just wants to have dinner with me, and I go have dinner with Brando, and I'm like 21. And back then I'm just thinking, hey, dinner with Brando.
As you
now
do.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow.
And have him do he did a line from the movie in 48 Hours. He goes, he said, you became a star the moment you said, I'm your worst fucking nightmare. I'm a nigger with a badge that means I've got permission to come in and kick your fucking ass. And I was like this. Damn, man, I ain't say the shit like that.
Wow.
But I just took it for granted when you was young. And now when you get old, it's like, that's the greatest actor ever. He actually sat in the room and he did some of your lines back at you.
That's amazing. Yeah. Did you guys ever talk about working together, maybe?
No, but he had contempt and a little bitterness when I met him for Hollywood and show, and he didn't want to talk about acting. I would say like, oh, I love The Godfather. He didn't want to talk about any of that. It was one movie he did called Burn, and he was like, that was his favorite movie of his, and he didn't want to talk about acting or any of that. He was. So we never talked about it.
Wow, that makes me.
But I tried to get him in life. I wanted him. Originally, he was supposed to play I wanted him to play the warden, and the studio wouldn't pay. They was like, "It's too much trouble." All this kind of goofy shit. I was like, "But it's Brando." To this day, whenever I see this movie, I think that's supposed to be Brando.
Oh man. Yeah. Do you think he would have done it? Did you talk to him about it?
No, when we did that movie, he was in his just fuck you, pay me stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I said the studios weren't going to just give him some money. They wanted probably put a lot of money, but he would have did it if they'd have gave him the money.
Oh man, it makes me think even higher of him though, that he recognized game early on in 48 Hours. That like one of our greatest actors of all time saw you in that and was like,
yeah, they were curious. It was really, I don't know if you guys are too young to remember when I came out. It was like a really big, it was like an explosion, and they were really curious about me. It was like the sensation, really. It came out like that. It was like really, because it was Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, 48 Hours of back-to-back, and Saturday Night Live, and Delirious. That's all like within 2-3 years of each other. Yeah. So it was like this intense, who is this kid?
Well, also I think your talent was just so, no pun intended, but raw, that people were like, it was the word that came to mind. Did you ever have any kind of acting classes or work with a coach on any of your roles?
We worked with a coach on the fight scenes, and the bar scene in the first 48 hours.
Really?
Yeah, there was because I had never done anything like that. So David Provo, who was a character actor, he used to be on what's the mafia show, The Sopranos.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, David Provo, he worked with me on that scene. That's the only time I worked with any, and he helped me a lot too.
And everything else is just natural talent or working at it?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Wow. I can see why Brando would want to get to the bottom of that. We have a question from Victor. Oh, hey. Wants to know, what do you think you would have done differently if you weren't an actor?
I really don't know. I think I'd have been a drifter. No, I don't know. What do I do? What would I have done if I was not acting? I wasn't doing comedy. It wasn't stand-up comedy. Maybe, can I be show business?
Sure.
Probably, maybe music. I'd have did music.
Well, you are a musician, though, or a singer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what I do most is music.
Really?
Yeah, I have a studio at my house, and I record stuff, and I write, and I play a little bit, and I've been doing it for years and years and years. That's what I do most. That's what I do for free. That's what I do for me.
Well, didn't you have an album just like 6 years ago that came out?
I put every now and then I put a little song up on YouTube, but I haven't put an album out in years and years and years. I stopped putting records out.
Can you sing?
Can I sing?
What, right now? Just sing for us.
No.
How about Boogie in Your Butt?
No. That whole thing is improvised.
I wondered, actually.
But yeah, if you go on YouTube and look up Eddie Murphy, Snoop Dogg, Red Light. Look at that.
Wow.
And go look up and look up Eddie Murphy, Temporary. That's another.
Temporary.
Yes, those are two cool little songs. You can see I ain't bullshitting.
Just like 3 days ago, somebody's cell phone rang was Party All the Time. And it went off in this office I was in, and I was like, oh, that brings back such amazing memories.
Literally, when we got in the car to come over here, Party All the Time was on the radio.
You're kidding!
And I was like, what station is this? It was at a K-Earth 101.
Was it really? Have you ever thought about writing or performing a song for one of your movies or doing the music?
Well, yeah, and Coming to America, and the scene where we go in the bar in the background, that's my track in the back.
Really?
My track playing in the back, so it'd be little stuff that we don't make any fuss over. But yeah, maybe more in the future than I did in the past.
Yeah. Maybe a theme song for the next one?
Yeah, maybe. What music is I'm aware that it looks weird when actors sing. Like you'd be seeing actors sing and you'd be like, hey, what the hell? Why are they singing? And I don't want to be that guy. And I don't do music, I'm not trying to get more famous or have it. I'm like, I do music because I love doing it. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to put out records because I'm not trying to be that guy. I just do it because I love doing it. Mm-hmm. 50 years from now when I'm gone, they could listen to all that shit. It'd be like, wow, we didn't even know Eddie.
We have a question from Melinda York. I see you back there. Wants to know, what were you like as a child? Were you like the rambunctious, playing jokes, class clown type?
I was never the class clown. Really? Because I was always dressed cool. I was cool. In high school, like I graduated like the most popular boy and all that shit. I was a cool dude, so I was always funny, but I was never a clown. I was like this dude on the side. I would say some funny shit from the side. And I always did voices, so I was able to do the principal or the teachers at the school or the school bully, and so I was always able to do voices and stuff. So, but I was never the class clown, but I was always the funny guy.
Was your brother the same way? Because he's so funny as well.
No, my brother was like a hoodlum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Charlie was like in the gangs and the rough. He was like the rough, tough brother.
But was he also funny?
Yeah, he was funny,
Yeah.
but he was more scary than funny.
Because I had this idea that you guys were bouncing jokes off each other or developing your comedy together.
No. He might have bounced me around. beat me up downstairs once or twice. But nah, he wasn't funny. He was always. My family is very, very funny. My mother, everybody is funny. We were always funny, and but Charlie was he was a tough kid.
Mm-hmm. He was so talented, and I remember when I first started to become aware of his comedy, it was a little surreal because I kind of thought it was like Bowfinger. I was like, wait, Eddie Murphy really has a brother who looks like him and is also funny?
Yeah. I didn't really, but people be like, y'all look just alike. And I was like, you don't look just alike.
I think you look similar.
Yeah, but people be like, y'all look like twins.
And then I heard somewhere did you do an imitation of him?
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Because there was a list of like the imitations you were best known for, and the first one was Michael Jackson, of course, and then there was James Brown.
There's a list of my.
Yes, there was a list online of like your top 3 imitations, and number 3 was Charlie Murphy. And I was like, well, that's kind of cheating. I don't know if you're like imitating your brother.
Yeah, I could do him good. He's probably my best. I used to say, I wish you would get famous so I could do your voice. And then he got famous.
And then he did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't know there was a list of my top voices.
See, these are the things you miss on Twitter.
I was the first one to do Michael's voice. No one.
That's right.
Now, when people do Michael, they do Michael talking. I'm the only one that ever does Michael singing. If you watch Delirious, I'm doing.
Oh, that's right.
Singing.
Yeah.
It's pretty close. You can watch Delirious.
They're really trying to get you to sing.
He's like, come on, let's hear it.
We're not leaving till you sing. We have a question from Edward. Over there, sorry. Wants to know, after 30 years in the business, what are some of the most important lessons you would want to pass on?
After 30 years in the business, well, I started when I'm 15. I'm 58. That's more than 30. How many is that?
Oh,
32. That's it. 40 what? 43 years.
Yeah.
So it's 43 years, Edward. And 38 years making movies. So what was the rest of the question?
What are the most important lessons you would want to pass on?
The most important lessons. Well, I tell you this, my contemporaries, people that came on the scene when I came on the scene or really had like impact, most of them are dead. Like Michael and Prince and Whitney and all those people. And without getting into the logistics of why they're gone, what they all had in common was their careers were all consuming. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that your career can't be everything. Your career has to be what you do, but at the center of it has to be family. So that's my most important. That's the most important thing in my life is my family, and I feel like if I put my family and my kids first, and any decisions that I make, if I put them first, I do the right thing. It always comes out right when that's at the center. And your endeavors, you're not put here for your endeavors. That's what you do, and that's how you keep the lights on, or that's who you are, that's how you express yourself, but it can't be everything. It can't be at the center. At the center has to be family.
Did it take you a while to learn that?
It took. I didn't just walk out of heaven into Hollywood. I went through some shit to get to that place. It takes a minute. That's what I learned that's what I think.
We have a question from Christian Marquez. Over here. Oh, hey. Wants to know, what's the best advice you'd have for a starting comic, especially in this new era of what's considered funny?
I don't know if you could even give a comic to give advice to a comic. I know I never wanted to hear no advice when I was young. I just wanted to do my thing. So I don't give a comic any advice about how to do comedy. I wouldn't even.
What about being seen? I mean, it's changed so much. I know you did the comedy club circuit, but now we have all these other platforms where people can be seen. Who are the people that make you laugh now? Who are the comics you're watching?
There's so many, I don't even know. It's too many to count. It used to be, 50 comics. Now it's, 1,000 comedians. It's at so many different places. Half the time I'll be laughing. I don't even know who the person is. Because I try to watch some of it.
Yeah. Netflix actually has really good comedy specials.
Yeah.
Once again, to plug Netflix.
Right now, I think the guy carrying the flag. Chappelle. He's the genius of the art form right now, and stand-up comedy.
Did you see his most recent special?
Yeah, I've seen all of his stuff.
I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
He's. But there's like I said, there's so many people that make me laugh, and there's so many people that do stand-up now. Stand-up over the last 25, 30 years turned into this big thing. Like, when I started doing stand-up, it was like a fringe thing, like a magician or a ventriloquist or something. Really, and the stand-up comic was the opening act for the big show. Have a comic come out and do 5-10 minutes, and the height of it, the ceiling was to get on the Tonight Show or get a sitcom, And now it turned into this big global thing where there's people that you never even heard of that make millions of dollars and can go sell out the Garden for 2-3 nights, It became this big, huge thing.
I'm curious, of all the people that you sort of played on Saturday Night Live, forgive me for not knowing, did you ever meet any of them? Did you ever meet James Brown? Did he have an opinion on your imitation?
Yeah. He liked James Brown. James Brown came up to me when he was with his daughter, and he came up to me. He goes, he said, "Eddie Murphy." He said, "You should do my life story." And I said, "Oh, James, people would laugh." He said, "Not if you're serious." He said, "You don't want to get all that little in-between stuff." The little in-between stuff. And then he hit me on my arms. He had his daughter with him. He said, and I'm married at the time. He goes, "You got some big arms." I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "I know you're married, but my daughter's available." And I laughed like that. I said, "Ah, ha, ha." He said, "I'm serious." So he liked me.
Yeah. I suspect most people had a good sense of humor about being imitated.
Yeah, because it's not malicious. When I'm doing an impression of somebody, I'm not malicious.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at them. Yeah. So.
A question from Juanita. Hey, wants to know, is there one role you would love to play?
I played a lot of stuff, so I don't know. This thing that I just did, this Rudy Ray Moore thing, was something 15 years ago I've been wanting to do. So, And I don't have anything else that's been around that long and I've been dying to do.
I mean, Rudy Ray Moore made more movies. You could always revisit, The Making of Human Tornado if you want to do a sequel.
No, I don't want to do anything. And I really played a lot of stuff. I did a lot of stuff over the years, just for most actors figure out what their moves are, and they do their little moves. If you get famous, you kind of do your little moves and you're kind of like the same person or whatever your persona is, you do that in a bunch of different things, and I got to do all this different stuff. Like I have a comic persona too, but I got to play men and women and old Asian, old Jewish people and all donkeys. I was a spaceship in one movie. What's
That's
that movie? The movie wasn't shit, but I was a spaceship. How many motherfuckers could say I was the spaceship in the movie? I got to play a wide range of stuff over the years. I played an old Jewish guy in Coming to America, and in Norbit, I'm an old Asian guy.
That's
I play
right.
Sherman's mother. Sherman's mother is the Hercules woman.
Yes.
She's like, she trips me out the most when I watch all of it. Because of the voice that I'm doing and the whole thing, and she's really like, it's like this, you're doing this woman and it's real, and it's not like you can't see me or anything, and it's real, and she's a trip. The grandmother, she's she's really, really funny, but the mother, because it's all this, somebody to play an old person is easier than playing, like she's not an old person, she's a real woman, and and it's a trip to watch. There's a scene in the second Nutty Professor movie where the father is having some problems with getting a hard on, and he's talking to the wife about it, and she's sitting on the bed, and she's like, "Oh, well, never try Why don't you try Viagra?" And he's like, and I'm watching the scene, and I was like, okay, that has to be a first. That the actor is sitting on the bed playing a woman, and he's trying to get the other character to take Viagra, and it was just strange. I think they even kiss in that movie, but they actually kiss in that movie.
Wow. And that was you kissing a tennis ball, or?
Yeah, I was kissing a tennis ball. I was kissing a tennis ball.
What's up next for you? I know you just finished Coming to America 2, and you're doing a new Beverly Hills Cop movie. Woo! That's pretty fun. That's what's supposed to be next year if they get that script together. Yeah. I'm going to do SNL and the Christmas show, and then in January I start working on trying to get some stand-up, going to clubs and trying to get my act together. Wow.
And hopefully, 9 to 10 months, not 8 to 10 months, have an act and be able to go out. That's the plan.
What is it that keeps bringing you back to stand-up? Is it your first
this
love?
is the first time I come back to it, and I started, almost 30 years. I did stand-up when I was 28 when I did Raw. And it wasn't like I kept coming back to it. It was like I'd stopped doing it completely. And then maybe about 10 years ago, I started thinking about doing it again. And then when I got that Mark Twain thing, and I had to write acceptance speech and go up and do like 5 and 10 minutes of stuff, and it was like, oh wow, I could still do this. That's when I started thinking about doing it again. Then I was like, I want to come out at the right time. I was sitting on the couch. It was like, I don't want to just pop up out of nowhere doing stand-up. Mr. Church is the last movie you've seen, and I'm out there doing it. I was like, I want to wait for me to do it, like something that's really, really, really funny, and come out on that. Then we were like planning to do it after Coming to America. Then this movie came out so good, we was like, hey, we can tour off that movie. So it came out so good, we pushed everything forward.
Are you going to be doing like small clubs and sort of like working
Well, stand-up, that's what's cool. With stand-up comedy, the only way you get an act is you got to go to the small club to write it. So you got to go work out. You got to go back all the way to square one and work out and get it a minute at a time in the little clubs.
So you're really going back to basics,
That's the only way to get stand-up, because I know a lot of comics use writers. I can't imagine somebody writing stuff for me. And I had so much stuff that happened over the last 30 years. It's just so much stuff to draw from. I would think that once I get on the stage and start working out, it would just kind of be like a fish to water again.
Oh, that's amazing. I cannot wait. I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for being a great audience.